Welcome to the NAWBO member spotlight. We have new member Amanda with us today.
Oh,
We love us some Amanda.
oh, you're so sweet. It's so good to be here, ladies. It's so good to be here.
Tell us about yourself, about your business.
Yeah, oh, yes, would love to. I always say everyone has a story, right? I love hearing people's stories. And I confess, I love it when people ask me for mine. So just in a nutshell, my story is that I am a business coach with Accelerate Action Coach Business Coaching over in Urbandale. And at the end of the day, what do? I educate and I serve other business owners so that they can thrive and just do great and amazing things with their team, with their customers, and with their communities. And so I, as a business coach, work with all of my clients to help them take from, as I say, from chaos to control, right? So that they're running a business that they want to be running and not letting the business run them. But how did I get here, ladies? Like, how is it that I got to NAWBO and how did I get to be a business coach? Before I became a coach, I was a business owner myself, and I owned and operated a private practice for licensed massage therapy, and loved that joy and loved that journey. And just as I went along, I loved the work, but I loved the business operations more, ladies. And I've been in a really unique position as now being a coach, because I actually was coached myself, and that's how I got to coaching. When I was a small business owner, in the very early days of our private practice, it almost didn't succeed just because of life. And my mother-in-law passed away from cancer, and that created some family struggles. And having a coach really helped me through those days and helped the business to thrive and just have a beautiful, abundant place to serve people through that work of massage therapy. And so I'm in a really unique position because as a coach, I've been both a coach. I'm now a coach, but I've also been on that side of being a client as a business owner. So, and one thing that's kind of fun is that I am a young female in an industry that there aren't very many young females. So when we go to coaches conferences, we haven't in a while because of the pandemic, but it's kind of fun just to create a little bit of diversity and to present things from a little bit different perspective. Because as we all on this call know, women in business face a lot of challenges that men don't. And I don't want to get political, but I think that's a very fair statement to make. We deal with things that a lot of men, we deal with confidence issues, we deal with imposter syndrome more. And those are some of the things that I really directly deal with my clients, is to say, I work with the majority of my clients are women. And I think that's because I can empathize with them, because we deal with, like, I do have young children at home and I may or may not have a supportive spouse. So how do I deal with that? Or, I don't have the confidence to do this, versus men would be like, let's go after it. Right. So slight digression, but that's my story. Does that kind of help answer your question, Wendy?
Well, I relate to that so much because same thing with me. I mean, I was coached. I mean, even just going through coaching training, you automatically work on yourself, right?
Totally.
And so
100%.
I know that coaching works. I mean,
Yeah.
it's completely changed my life.
Love it. Love it. And
Yeah.
just having that mindset of abundance, right, ladies? Like, just to say, like, there's so much work as business owners that we can do to our community, and there's so much work we can do on ourselves, that we always need to be working. We always need to be progressing. We just can't settle, right? We just can't be complacent. We just have to keep moving forward. And having somebody on our team is going to be a huge part of that, right? So
Amanda, I'm kind of pulling this. I didn't prepare you for this, but I know you can handle it.
I'm on it.
Yeah. I would say for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I have talked with numerous female business owners who are trapped in perfectionism and burnout.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm guessing you probably see that a lot as well. So can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, yes, very much so. So, yes, we're seeing it. And I would make the argument that I'm seeing it even more post-COVID. And I realize that we're still coming out of this, right? But we're still realizing, what do things look like, right? What, I know the term's been used around what's that new normal, right? So a couple, and part of that is this perfectionism, right? Like, just taking on too many more burdens than we can bear, to the point where it is burning out a lot of business owners. And I'm seeing that with my clients. It's sometimes every single day, just to get up and to go to work is a struggle. And I know that as their coach, because I'm one of the safe places to talk about that. Right. But it's kind of one of those things that, you know, Wendy and Trisha, we see it, but not your normal person does. Right. So how I deal with that with my clients is we talk about several things. Like one, what are the fears, right? So perfectionism can often be driven by a fear that we're not good enough, a fear that we have to work 26 out of 24 hours of the day, a fear that we're not going to be a good provider, a fear that we're not going to be a good parent, in addition to being a good business owner, right? So we talk about a lot of those fears, and we talk about what is the worst case scenario that happens if you do actually leave your business at 5 o'clock at night, right? Like, will the sun stop turning? And I know that's an extreme example, but I kind of break the ice with my clients. I'm like, guess what? Like, the sun's still going to set and the sun's still going to rise, and your child is going to be okay. Like, we always talk about like the fears, right? We have to address those things. But then I really, Wendy and Trisha, start working with my clients right away on the mindset to say, okay, you know what? You cannot, a phrase I like to use a lot is, you cannot let perfection get in the way of progress. You have to just simply take one step at a time, like 1% at a time, right? And so we have to address and say, okay, so our mindset is in this negative place of burnout, right? It's being in a place of denial. You know, I'm denying my gifts. I'm denying that I'm good enough. I'm in this really dark place to say, okay, how do we come from that to now own where we are, own what we've got, and move forward with it, right? How do we create accountability for ourselves? So instead of saying, you know, my business isn't where, you know, it's not making enough money and I need to get to this place of, I've got to get it to be making enough money, but I don't know if I can get there. Instead of saying, hey, here's what my business is making. Here's the actions that I need to get it to be making more. That will create more time. That'll create more jobs. Can you see the complete mindset
Oh
difference?
my gosh, yes.
It's and it starts here, right? So it starts with the mindset, because our mindset creates our words create our actions, and our actions create our results, right? So what, a long story or a long answer long to your question, Wendy, but it's we have to address them, right? We cannot dismiss the challenges and this perfectionism and this really sincere and truthful challenge of burnout. But instead of letting that defeat us, how do we use that to be a victor, right? How do we use that to drive us, to motivate us, to just simply say, okay, I can either let this defeat me and burn me out, and I can basically let it win. And who wants that? Or I can say, I can overcome it and I can win over it. So
I saw Sean Stevenson speak at a conference, and his mom said to him, you can let this be a blessing or a burden.
100%. I 100% agree. Yeah. And the thing that's really cool is that we see it, obviously we're all business women on this call, but you can see that in life too, right? Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
in life, you know, like how many times, you know, do we just say, when you look back at something, and sometimes when we got rejected for a job, or we got, you know, let go for a job, or we went through really, really, really hard things, sometimes we can look back and see where the doors were open for us, and we can see where those blessings were, right?
Or doors were closed for us that we refused to close.
Yeah. And it's all about the mindset.
100%
how you are
agree.
looking at it.
100% agree. Yeah. You know, I have a client on Wednesday. They got some challenging news. They applied for a credential. They didn't wind up getting approved for it. And was it disappointing? 100% yes. But I said, hey, here's what we can do. We can either let this discourage us and we can stay in this place of anger and frustration that we didn't get it. Or now we can say, guess what? We were waiting on this news. Now we know the door's been closed.
Yes.
Here's how we know we can proceed.
Exactly.
But before, until we got this news, we didn't know where to go. Now we know where to go. So again, it was that mindset, and they're like, yep, you're right. You know? So yeah.
I love that.
I came across a quote that said, perfectionism is a commitment to habitual self-doubt.
It's so true. It is. And I think that's really good. Thanks for sharing, Wendy.
That's a good
and in
one.
my own experiences, I would completely agree with that. 100%. Yep.
And I just keep going back to that one that Amy said, perfect according to who?
Amen.
Exactly.
I mean, oh, that one just like literally stuck me in the heart. And I literally have thought about that, you guys, numerous times throughout the day when I'm, you know, talking to you know, different people, and they're talking about perfectionism. And I'm like, perfect according to who?
Exactly. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's so true. And then kind of an extension of that, but Trisha, as soon as you said that, where my mind went is another phrase that I say often, but comparison is the thief of joy. And so
Oh,
when we are comparing
yes.
ourselves, like that business owner over there has perfection. Well, what does that mean? Do you know their entire story? Do you know what's going on behind the scene? Like you only see one side of it and you're comparing yourself to them.
Like
Yeah.
the
So
duck on the water, right? You don't see his
Yes.
feet.
right.
Yes. Exactly. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's
Yeah.
so true. It's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some days it's a slow paddle, and other days it's just like,
But on the surface, you're like, oh, look at that duck just gliding along.
This is great. Yeah. It's
The
so,
duck's going, I'm gonna drown.
yeah. Yeah.
so true.
You know, the other thing too, and I think it's one of those things where like we are our own worst enemies sometimes, right? We do set ourselves up to standards. We do put this idea of perfection on, and it can be very isolating. It can be extremely lonely. And you know, I again, like not to kill this thing with quotes, but you know, being a business owner is one of the loneliest and hardest jobs in the world, right?
Amen.
So, you know,
Mhm.
I think that's one of the really cool things about surrounding yourself with other women business owners, right? That's one of the powerful things of NAWBO is you can go into, you know, meetings or, you know, tonight we're having cocktails and conversations, right? To say, okay, like here are other women that like know my story or like they've walked through what I can walk through. So when I talk about my struggle with perfectionism, my struggle with burnout, but nobody else knows, like here's women that probably do. It's
Yes.
powerful. It's so powerful.
Amen.
Yes.
That to me, that's what it's about relationships
Mm-hmm.
and understanding what we're all going through. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll end with this. Like I had this idea the other day that I feel like this year is almost harder than last year
Oh, very
because
much so.
there's the post-traumatic stress from what happened.
Yes. Yes.
And it feels like the war is over and we've all returned from war, but we're all still like waiting
Yeah.
for someone to jump out of the bushes or
Yeah.
like, is it
Yeah.
really over?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like did that really just happen? Like,
Right.
so I feel like this year has almost been harder for me.
Yeah. Very much so. Very, very much so.
I think I would agree with that because also along with that too, like there's we all, and this is good, right? This is good that we all have strong opinions about things, but when you're dealing with that and like everybody's voicing their opinions as business owners, it's like, okay, should I do this? Should I do this? What if I, you know, do this? And I might have a good reason for it, but somebody might not see it. And then they're going to give me a bad review, right? Like, it's just so stressful. It's like, pardon my language, but it's like damned if you do and damned if you don't, right?
Yep.
Like,
how many times have we talked about that?
Oh my gosh, you're effed either way.
Exactly.
No, seriously.
It
seriously.
is. No, it is. And
Yes.
and this is again,
Yes.
like this is the stress that business owners like we are going through right now. And it's hard. It is so hard. And you know, again, just trying to allow things to see these burdens become blessings. You know, someday we're going to look back and be like, remember that COVID war that we went through? The whole world went through it, but remember how we went through it as business owners? And you know, it's already made us stronger, ladies, and we just have to allow it to continue to refine us, right?
Yes.
We cannot allow it to beat us down. And I refuse to. Do I have moments of like, oh my gosh? Oh, absolutely. My clients do. I do. Like everybody who's honest with themselves. If somebody got on here and said, oh no, it's been perfect, I'd be like, yeah, you're like in total denial.
Like you weren't, where were you?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same,
I mean, so many blessings have come out of it though.
totally.
And again, it's been shifting the mindset. And I think Wendy and I working together and working with other, you know, people, that is what has helped.
Totally.
Is being able to be vulnerable, being able to be transparent. If I need to cry and I'm talking, you know, an ugly snot cry, I have my people that I can do that with. And that is what has gotten me through it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's just so critical, you know, just to, I think one final thing on that. And again, just going back to the power of NAWBO and a core group of female businesswomen, you know, you are the sum of the five people that you spend your most amount of time with, right? So be careful with your time. Surround that.
Good luck, Trisha.
I love it. But surround yourself with people that are going to allow you to have that cry, that are going to allow you to have that. If you need to drop an F-bomb because you're having such a bad day, like people that are going to be okay with that and that are going to say, it's all right, like get it out because this is a safe space to do that. Yeah, totally agree. so excited to be part of this group, and just, I really truly want to contribute. And I hope that, you know, there's just ample I know there's gonna be ample opportunity, but just contribute through deepening relationships and just being a good support to other women. That's at the end of the day, like, my heart is a heart of service, and I'm just excited to allow NAWBO to be an outlet for that. So thank you.
Thank you
Perfect.
again for coming on.
Thank you
Always
so
a
much for
pleasure.
having me. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thank
I'll see you
you.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.